I found these chairs at Goodwill. I actually asked a complete and total stranger which of the two chairs I was considering felt more like one you would find in a doctor's office. She had no idea why I was asking, but I did. Back in 2014, I was diagnosed with uterine fibroids. For a long time, I didn't fully understand what that meant for my body. I just knew that I was uncomfortable all the time. Heavy bleeding, cramping, pain during intimate time. It was just all around unfun and something every woman in my family had dealt with. I didn't think it would negatively impact me the way that it did, since every woman in my family had a successful pregnancy with fibroids, but my story is a little different. In October of 2014, I found out we were pregnant. I was over the moon. It had finally happened. I've been waiting my entire life to become a mom, and it was finally happening. I was so excited. And I was really, really, really excited to go in for our first sonogram. But it didn't plan out the way you see it on movies. When I got there, they put the jelly on, moved the thing around, and the technician wouldn't let me see the screen, and they wouldn't turn the sound on. I've literally been waiting my whole life for this moment, and it was not going the way that I thought it was gonna go. The technician actually excused themselves from the room, and that's when I knew something was not right. I didn't fully want to believe it, but I knew something was wrong. The person that came back into the room wasn't the technician, it was a different doctor. And what I remember most from that moment is he looked like Keanu Reeves, but he was Chinese. He explained to me that I was experiencing an ectopic pregnancy. The baby had implanted in my fallopian tube, and it was not going to get into my uterus where it needed to go, and we would need to terminate my pregnancy. I heard what he said. I understood the weight of what he shared, but my brain was not processing what was actually happening. In my mind, I figured there's a technique or something that they could do to move this embryo to the right place and we would be okay. I quickly learned that's not how the human body works. While sitting in a waiting room to see my OBGYN and discuss next steps, there was a man with his son playing in the room. I just sat there and cried silently. When he looked at me and asked if I was okay, it was the first time I think I've ever been honest and in the moment, and I said no, face flooded with tears. I couldn't explain why I wasn't okay, but the fact that I was able to say that I wasn't felt monumental. While speaking to my doctor about what we could do or what we should do, he gave me the option of surgery or taking a medication that would terminate the pregnancy. I was leaning more towards taking the medication when I suddenly began to feel very dizzy and nauseous. We decided surgery is the better option as the fallopian tube was on its way to rupturing. I was rushed to the ER, and what I remember was everything went from 0 to 100 very quickly. Calling my husband, calling my parents, letting everybody know what was going on, and us not really understanding how severe this was. The only thing I knew was my grandmother died of an ectopic pregnancy, so I knew that this was very serious. When I woke up, I had a staple in my navel, a missing fallopian tube, and my baby was gone. I was devastated. Friends and family did the best they could to comfort me, but it wasn't enough. I felt like nobody fully understood what had happened. Nobody fully understood how much I wanted to be a mom. And this was that time, and now it seemed like that opportunity was gone. About 12 weeks later, the week of Christmas, I went in for the myomectomy to remove the fibroids that caused me to lose my first child. That surgery was also very intense. And before I went under, my doctor explained to me and my family that in the event he couldn't stop the bleeding, because I had so many fibroids to remove, if he couldn't stop the bleeding, he would have to remove my uterus. I let him know I did not want a hysterectomy because I really wanted to be a mom, and begged him to do the best that he could. He didn't take out all the fibroids, just the biggest ones. There were 9 of them: a cantaloupe, an orange, some plums, and a few grapes. That was the weight of what I'd been carrying, invisibly, while appearing completely fine on the outside. I spent Christmas holiday that year healing from the surgery. Quietly, the way we do. We were advised to wait 6 months before we started trying again. I was very eager to start trying again. For 4 years, we tried again. 4 years of hoping every single month we would get a positive pregnancy test. 4 years every single month of crushing disappointment every time my cycle started. It was then my doctor suggested we try IVF. This chair holds all of that. The hope I kept spending even when it cost me everything. The MRI scans are my actual scans. The pelvic X-ray is my actual pelvis. The photographs are from my actual surgery. This is not a representation of someone's story. This is my body, rendered in Persian blue through cyanotyping. And the yellow thread facing that scar line, that's what a myomectomy leaves behind. I wanted it visible. I wanted it honored. The back of the chair is deliberately unfinished. As women, we're expected to show up and look good, to present like nothing's wrong. Never look like what you're going through is a phrase that I've heard more times than I care to count. We're undone while holding it together in every waiting room, on every exam table, in every public space. We're expected to be fine. Through it all, my husband was my rock and my support system. His handprint is pressed into that black surface. He became my North Star when I was drowning in depression, in sadness, and fighting my way back to hope. Gold, warm, present. Through every appointment, every diagnosis, every Kleenex, every breakdown. He wrote inside it, "You were not alone, we're in this together." That's JR. That's my person. That's what hope also looks like. If you've ever sat in a waiting room carrying something invisible, if you've ever held it together while falling apart inside, this chair is for you. This chair is for me. This chair is hope.